Hey guys, how's it going? This is Tom Burkhardt here from Car-Revs Daily with the new 2018 Subaru CROSSTREK 2-liter Premium. So this revised CROSSTREK includes 4 extra horsepower versus last year and revised design outside with light details like this updated grille and available LED daytime running lights and LED cornering lights on the limited trim level. This Outback Junior of a CROSSTREK has the standard halogen lights, which are a feature on the 2.0i and the 2.0i Premium here, and have pricing for about $21,000. So what the CROSSTREK majors on is practicality, having all-wheel drive as standard, and getting great miles per gallon. So nice quick walk around here. Let's hop in the car and see how it does in some non-core strength areas like high performance handling. We get out on the handling loop. Let's see how the CROSSTREK does in an environment where it's very much at home. We've got dual cameras going here and the GoPro on this sandy road in Charleston, South Carolina. And all of the CROSSTREK's handling quirks on the road make perfect sense off the road. You get in the car and it's just, it glides over big off-road bumps and lumps, just like it's an air glider. It's so smooth and comfy, and it just feels unflappably full of traction at all times. Of course, like all Subarus. So it's really good in that way. Let's see if we can get a little sideways. Yeah, just a teeny bit. Very rewarding car off-road with, of course, this 8.7 inches of ground clearance. So let's get started with section headings of what is the CROSSTREK, which we've covered pretty effectively, followed by the good, the bad, and the ugly. Just kidding. There's nothing ugly in this car. It looks pretty cool. But let's dive in with the handling loop. So the CROSSTREK is giving me kind of a case of the giggles here because it just feels so inappropriate to do a real handling and performance test on such a comfy and crossover-oriented vehicle, but it's going to be fun anyway. There's going to be a lot of tire squeal in this review, but just know that no Subarus were harmed in the making of this video. So the good parts of the CROSSTREK are easy to find. Like all Subarus, they have a really low center of gravity and of that boxer engine that really keeps the handling very neutral and confidence inspiring. And then of course they have this 50/50 symmetrical all-wheel drive, which is now modified to include torque vectoring for additional cornering jollies. So you know, that's kind of nice, and those traits are definitely alive and well from up and down the lineup. I mean, if you start at the STI, it's a really hunkered down type of all-wheel drive performance feel, and with super low center of gravity. And then as you get in the bigger Subarus, you know, they still maintain that core trait, even when they're not super performance optimized. So that definitely applies to this CROSSTREK because it is not performance optimized. We'll try to get the tires squealing. I've heard them all week, like squealing around. But let's start at the beginning. So first, CROSSTREK impressions this week. It's taken a couple days to really love this car. And I'm a former Subaru owner. I had a WRX Bug-Eye wagon and then an 05 Legacy GT with a stick shift and a big turbo. And I absolutely loved it. There we go. There's a little Subaru awesomeness coming out of that corner. So I'm definitely a Subaru fan, but this CROSSTREK certainly fits into the more like Outback style of Subaru shopper. You know, people who aren't concerned with maximum speed. And that's good because with 152 horsepower, there isn't a ton of speed available. The 2018 CROSSTREK offers a newly designed 6-speed manual transmission for the first time in this car in a while, and that cuts the sprint time down to about 9.1 seconds with the 152 horsepower 4-cylinder, making I think 140 foot-pounds of torque. So with that 6-speed automatic, it's definitely a lot quicker, but with this Lineartronic 7-speed CVT, which I'm using through the paddles right now, your 0 to 60 sprint pace hold on a sec. 0 to 60 sprint pace is more like 10 seconds. It's pretty pokey in this automatic. So that is like, you know, that is what it is. But really what Subaru has done is make their CVT one of the best in the world. I mean, it's a good reminder that not all CVTs are created equal. And this one is certainly one of the better ones. No understeer at all, just pure grip coming out of corners. And also focuses on this, it really shines a nice spotlight on this new 2-liter 4-cylinder Boxer engine, which of course has been completely redesigned from the ground up to include direct injection. So for the first time, CROSSTREK is actually, like, of course, standard with all-wheel drive, and Impreza, the younger sibling for that matter, standard with all-wheel drive, and they get great efficiency. So this automatic gets significantly better efficiency than the 6-speed manual, to the tune of like 4 miles per gallon. And it will shift. It will, I promise. I think. Or maybe it'll hold it there sometimes. But it generally does upshift and does a convincing impression of a regular torque converter automatic transmission with the benefits of CVTs included. So it's ridiculously smooth. It's super easy to drive in traffic and at cruising speeds. And shines a big light on this super efficient direct injection version of the Boxster. The Boxster, which is now, you know, really quiet and smooth as ever, but gets 27 in the city and 33 on the highway, which is really good, almost class leading for the compact crossover segment, and very, very good indeed. If you choose the 6-speed manual transmission, though, you should, quick heads up though, that its fuel economy plummets. It's like 23-29 with the 6-speed. So that's the trade-off of getting a lot more straight line pace. And it's a trade-off I'll make. Oh, is this Subie? There he is. So those are all interesting things for this 2018 CROSSTREK. And it's definitely, its makeover from the Impreza basis is pretty thorough these days. It's a totally re-engineered handling setup, and definitely a fully different look outside. So in terms of the handling, we've now got 8.7 inches of ground clearance in this vehicle, which is really, really good. That's like full-size pickup truck territory in terms of its off-road prowess, and at least like a good 3 or 4 inches more than most compact crossovers or the Golf All-Track, or like Nissan Rogue Sport, which are some of the main competitors for this vehicle. So this really tall ground clearance, so it matches the ruggedized body with the black plastic accents that we've got around the front fog lights that are adaptive steering reactive fog lights, even in this halogen bulbs. So you still have you definitely I'm sorry. You definitely have a sense that I keep thinking this is an Outback. You definitely have a sense that CROSSTREK is sitting taller, but it really it drives sort of like it just has a really, really ridiculously comfy suspension setup, and it doesn't really like it's very, very comfortable, but it handles really tidily. But where you start to lose a little bit of the focus of the Impreza and the Golf All-Track is in the body roll, which is like pretty significant. You could like hear it there and feel it. It's pretty dramatic, and that speaks to its general off-roady type of settings. And Yokohama Geolander 17-inch 60 height tires, so they're pretty tall rubber in addition to this jacked up suspension, and it does have an effect on the Impreza's really, really planted handling feel. There's simply no other way to say it. But is that a deal breaker? No, absolutely not. Because this car comes with such a soft ride and is so comfortable and smooth and insulated for this generation, they're trade-offs that you're going to be pretty happy to make. At least for people who are in the market for a car that can drive in a foot of snow with its all-wheel drive instead of just 6 inches like the regular Impreza. So this machine is definitely capable in CROSSTREK, guys. It makes a lot of compromises in the names of the style gods, with like its tall ride, all the plastic addenda, the standard roof bars. I mean, all that stuff is very sort of lifestyle-y, but it's not a core enhancement of the vehicle itself. So that would be transitioning into like the bad section. There's nothing really bad about this car, but the things you'd have to mention, of course, are it's pretty pokey. I mean, it's pretty slow in general, even versus the Golf All-Track, which is priced about the same and has a turbocharged engine and a DSG automatic. very, very, like 3 minutes slower than that All-Trek. 3 minutes, 3 seconds slower. Sorry about that. 3 seconds slower than the All-Trek is very, very noticeable. So that's the first thing you're going to observe. And the second thing is that, it does have a pretty wallowy type of initial response from the suspension. Once you get past that, the suspension is actually very, very nice. Sorry, a little squeal there. That scared that poor Honda. But once you get past that level of a little squishiness, the Crosstrek handles really well and handles fantastically, and that's why it's such a delight to drive on sand or snow or anywhere where there's like loose terrain or big potholes and bumps like that. This Crosstrek really, really inspires a ton of confidence. And that's going back to the main point of this car. It takes a couple days to sort of like to get into the vibe of this car. At first, you get in and the steering feels kind of wandery and like unassisted at all. It's like light, but also like unassisted in a weird way. Is how I felt the first day. And then the second day, I kind of got into it and took some corners and got to feel the whole all-wheel drive system in action. And really, as the days have gone by, it just reminds me of why Subarus are so loved by their owners. I mean, that ad campaign is definitely the real deal. They are loved by their owners because no other car really, car, not a truck, but puts this level of confidence in your hands. I mean, you basically know exactly what the car's doing at all times, and you have never a worry about losing grip at all. It's just a very, very well set up chassis, and overall, fundamentals of the engineering are very good. So in terms of other downsides, I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the CVT, which, like, okay, so not all CVTs are created equal, but I would like this car 1,000 times more if it had the 6-speed manual transmission. And that doesn't mean that the CVT is bad per se, but what it does mean is that it's sort of saps the what little power the engine has to give. In some respects. In other respects, it actually makes the most of what is a very, very modest power output. The car only weighs 3,100 pounds, so for it to have 152 horsepower is fine, but I mean, it could easily handle 200. So that's worth noting. Although, now that I'm saying this, I mean, you could really hustle this thing down the road. And that way, this CVT is a pretty good pair for that, for this motor. It's this new generation of Subarus with this direct injected engine is very, very interesting because it doesn't really have that boxer. It doesn't have much boxer rumble like the previous cars had, and it's just so quiet and so much smoother than ever that it's easy to sort of almost forget that there is a really compact and low-mounted boxer 4-cylinder up front. But then you hit a corner and you're like, okay, I get it, Subaru. So in terms of other gripes, one of the big style upgrades, so like the fascias are new in this car for 2018, and the lights and the grills and the bumpers and some other stuff, but it really is a pretty light facelift for a car that's been on the market for 4 or 5 years, unless you get the Crosstrek Premium, which has the adaptive cornering front lights with the LED daytime running lights. If you don't get that Premium from about $27,000 as a base price, then you're stuck with these halogens with a high beam as your daytime running light, which is a big bummer in 2017 and 2018 for style conscious people. Of course, you could upgrade to the LEDs later, and you do have standard LED brake lights in back, not tail running lights, still incandescent, but LED brake lights in a matrix back there is pretty good. But I just you have to say that because I just thought the 2018 Crosstrek had the LEDs as standard, but it does not. But in general, a great car that does a lot of things really, really well. Of course, for people who not just want but need all-wheel drive, ground clearance, and ridiculous fuel efficiency, there's very few other options that are as trusty and well loved as Subaru Crosstrek and Outback. I'm a big fan of the cars, even though not quite a lot of straight line urge. You could definitely have a lot of fun around corners, as we saw, and carry pretty respectable speed through corners as well, because of this all-wheel drive system's general lowness and the fact that it splits that power symmetrically all the time. So it's not sort of like a part-time a part-time lover of a four-wheel drive system, like most of the other compact crossovers, where they just sort of shoot 20% of power to the back when needed, and then go back to being totally front drive. This is really this Outback CROSSTREK, Outback Junior again, really has a different feel going for it, and it's one of the most comfortable ways that you can get that ride height, all-wheel drive ability, and big fuel economy. We'll see you guys next time. This is Tom Burkhardt from car-revs Daily in the 2018 CROSSTREK. Oh, by the way, this model stickers from $24,000 with as the mid-spec level, and then with its eyesight and all the active safety options, we're up to $26,905 delivered. Very, very good value. Although for me personally, I think I'd go with the all-track. See you next time. This is Tom.